Okay guys, so we've got a new watch from Omega. We've got a new Omega Seamaster that's just been dropped after many months of Omega titillating and tantalizing us with this new watch, which was clearly there to be an accidentally on purpose reveal by Daniel Craig since around the Paris Olympics back in August. So this watch has been hotly anticipated by Omega fanboys. What do we think of the watch? What do we think of the watch? I'll tell you what I think of the watch, because of course the watch hobby is very much about personal taste and personal opinion. So I'm only going to share with you my personal opinion and what I think about this watch. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is factually, empirically correct. It just means it's my opinion. But my opinion, for what it's worth, and it's worth nothing, of course, to Patek Philippe, who just think I'm a pleb and a minion because I can't afford their watches. But with Omega, I think they should maybe care a little bit about my opinion, because I can afford their watches and I do like their watches. This watch, this new Omega Seamaster, rubbish. But the question is, of course, why do I think it's rubbish? And it is rubbish, and I won't be buying one. Why do I think it's rubbish? Well, firstly, point number one is there is an existing Seamaster that has, whether you like the bracelet or not, it has a bracelet with a proper fold-over clasp with micro adjustments, so you can adjust the bracelet on the fly to get the perfect fit, and it has a date wheel. This new release has no date wheel, fine. Quite like it because it's got a nice clean dial, but it also has this most ridiculous junky Milanese generic crappy bracelet, and I've tried that bracelet on the Bond 60th anniversary. I couldn't get a decent fit on it, and before you tell me, oh, it's my wrist size or it's the way I wear my watch or whatever it is, no, that bracelet is bad. It doesn't have micro adjusts. It's made of steel. It's got a huge clasp that sticks out the bottom of the strap, so you're going to catch it all over the place all of the time. It's a very bulky strap, despite the fact that I would have thought a Milanese should feel very sleek and comfortable. It's a very bulky strap and it's not comfortable. So they've downgraded the bracelet big time on this watch, and they've taken the date away. But you would have thought if they downgraded the bracelet and took the date wheel away that you'd be looking at a little discount, a cheeky little discount on the retail price, wouldn't you? Well, of course, no. What Omega have decided to do is give you less and charge you more. Now, if that wasn't enough that you were getting less but being charged more, there's even more to come, guys. There's even more to come. Because guess what? They've done absolutely nothing else apart from make it a more expensive watch. I mean, seriously guys, you spent 4.5–5 months titillating us and tantalizing us, putting it on a retired secret agent's wrist and getting him to flash it at every photo opportunity for the last 4 or 5 months throughout the whole summer, and you couldn't give us anything else than an inferior bracelet and no date and charge us more. I mean, Omega, what on earth are you thinking? I'm absolutely incensed with Omega for having done this, guys, because, and here's the reason why. Here's the main reason why I'm incensed with Omega for having done this to us. They've basically just put a few little cheeky changes, cheaper changes on an existing model and put it out there at a higher price. And look, don't get me wrong, the wave dial, the new wave dial, I really like that, but we've seen that already. That's already out there, and it's been out there for a couple of years on the Bond 60th anniversary model, so we expected to see that, and that's absolutely what Omega should be doing. So okay, a little tick for Omega there, but it's not new, is it? We've seen that before. But the missed opportunity here, this is what really infuriates me about this, the missed opportunity. Because Omega are in a situation where their Seamaster line desperately needs an upgrade, it desperately needs an overhaul. Here's what I would have done to that watch. I would have given you the option to have sword hands. Omega on the 2254.5, which is by far and away the best Seamaster model they ever made, had sword hands. They ran those with those sword hands for about 10 years, and they had it on several different models. The It looks great also on the polar dial GMT of that generation, of that era as well. They use the sword hands. Those sword hands are fabulous. So a lot of people don't like the skeletonized hands. I'm okay with them. I don't mind them. I've had a couple of Seamasters with the skeletonized hands. Doesn't bother me at all. But I much prefer the sword hands, and I think Omega missed an opportunity to put the sword hands on this no-date model. I think it would have looked spectacular, absolutely spectacular. Now that's not to say, of course, that in the future they won't do that. But I think if they were going to do it, my gut feeling is if they were going to do it, they would have done it on this launch. They would have done it on this model, because this is basically the launch of what appears to be a new range. The other thing, I think this is a massive missed opportunity, is that they should have reduced the size of the helium escape valve. Now that's not actually a big deal, because that's a tiny little machined part. They don't actually have to change the thread of the valve itself, they just have to change the size and the shape of the huge wart of a crown that you have to turn to open a valve that you're actually always going to leave shut, because you don't go saturation diving, do you? And you don't need the helium escape valve, do you, really? So if you're going to have a helium escape valve, make it as subtle and as small as possible. And Omega have missed the opportunity, despite having a huge amount of feedback, I'm sure. They've missed the opportunity to make that helium escape valve an awful lot smaller, and it wouldn't have been a big deal for them to do that. It's not a big, expensive design change to do that. It's just a very, very small machined part. So I think they've missed that opportunity. I like the fact that they've gone to an aluminium bezel. I think aluminium bezels do have an element of kind of coolness about them. I don't know whether there's a better word for it than maybe retro coolness, the aluminium bezels. And with those aluminium bezels, I don't even mind if they pick up a few little knocks and scratches, because that's the point of the aluminium bezel, is that it can pick up a few knocks and scratches and it adds a bit of character. Generally speaking, with that bracelet, what they should have done with that model was put the existing Seamaster, what's that, a 9-link bracelet. They should have taken that, and they should have put the quick release catch on that bracelet, which they've released before on the Paris 2024 model, I think, the quick release catch, so that it's very easy for you to change straps. Put that on that model with the sword hands, with the unloomed aluminium bezel. That watch would have been epic. Absolutely epic. And these are tiny design changes, guys, with the smaller helium escape valve. Tiny design changes, not a big deal. But for some reason, Omega have just decided to stick to a design and stick to an aesthetic which just isn't working for them anymore. And I think that's what I find really infuriating about these new releases. And before you think to yourself, hey, Mark, you're whinging a little bit here, aren't you? You know, you're going on a little bit. We get it. You don't like it. We get it. What really ticks me off, and I'm going to finish on this, what really ticks me off is the price. They've put the price up and given you less. I honestly, guys, I just think that's bonkers. Really bonkers, barking mad. So, don't know what they're thinking. I wish somebody at Omega would kind of fess up to this huge mistake. And, you know, maybe in the same way that the guy that owns Patek Philippe should apologise to the watch obsessive community that he's just offended by calling us all plebs. You know, maybe Omega need to apologise, but maybe they don't. Maybe this is the Swiss luxury watch industry. Maybe it's arrogant and they think that they're the smartest people in the room, and we've just got to get over it.